Hello my beautiful friends, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for tuning in again. I'm Sarah from Synchronized Health and Wellness, and my channel is all about personal transformation, health and wellness. And really I'm just sharing tricks and tips that I've learnt along my journey that can hopefully help you. And today I want to talk to you about boundaries and letting go. So we don't have maybe the best self-esteem, maybe one word, or we have an abandonment wound. We can become people pleasers, and people pleasing really comes from parent pleasing when we're children, and we tend to, when we're young, when we're children, for the age of 7, we're very reliant on finding out about the world around us and how we fit into the world from our experiences and from the way that people, mostly our caregivers, usually our parents, interact with us. And so if they're emotionally unavailable, or for some reason we get left, or they leave, there can be a lot of reasons for it. We can form an opinion about ourselves, and I've talked about this in some of my other videos, but we can form basically an abandonment wound and feel like we weren't good enough or worthy enough of being loved or having our needs met. When we're children, we're very egocentric, and we need to be, because relating to other people around us, we depend on them for our survival. We can't survive without significant adults in our lives looking after and nurturing us. And not just our physical needs. They've, studies out of orphanages in Romania and other places in the world where babies had their physical needs but not their emotional needs met, actually died when they weren't held. They could be fed, changed, but not actually had that relationship built with them. They failed to thrive, they stopped gaining weight, and they ended up dying. A horrible, horrible research study. And I don't think they intentionally did it, but they went in and they saw what happened to these babies that weren't cared. Well, because there weren't enough people to care for them. There weren't enough people for them to have one-on-one relationships with. When we're babies, we rely on having skin-to-skin contact, communication through looking into somebody's eyes, building a relationship with people to know that we are cared for, that we're loved. It's so important to our well-being and to our growing brain. Our brains don't even grow the same if we've had trauma or neglect instilled on us as very young children or babies. So we can have an attachment an attachment wound, an abandonment wound, which really then we form an attachment theory talks about this too. We form our attachment styles through these experiences as well. But I really want to talk about how having trauma or this neglect impacts on our life when we were children. And we tend to either swing one way or the other. We can end up being narcissists, which is that we really demand things of other people. We control them to get our needs met. And this is like a take. We want to take to get what we need. And so narcissistic behavior and empathic behavior, or people pleasing, they're basically, opposites of each other, but formed from the same kinds of experiences. So when we're an empath, or we're a people pleaser, a parent pleaser, it comes from, okay, well, I'm going to try and mold myself to what my significant caregiver would like me, who I think they would like me to be, so I can get my needs met that way. So I will go out of my way to give to them and be the kind of person that they want me to be. And that might be to sit withdrawn in a corner and, you know, or it might be to, you know, grease up, I guess is the words I'm thinking of, you know, like really try to behave in ways that the person that's looking after you will want, you think they'll want you to be, so that you will get love and attention. And then when we grow up, we can become somebody that does that in our adult relationships with people. And I certainly have been that person. And, you know, when I was a very young child and my sister was born, my dad was working long hours, my mum went into hospital, and it was 10 days in those days, and I was only 16 months old, and I was given to people, you know, my parents did what they thought they had to do. In those days, I didn't realise how detrimental that would be, but I was 16 months old, and I was sent off to these people that I barely knew for 10 days, and I'd been with my mother every day, all day, until that time. So you can imagine what that was like. Well, I can imagine, and you know, I've had to do a lot of healing work around that. But through that experience, I realise now that's how I gravitated towards trying to be someone that people would approve of. And so throughout my life, friendships, relationships, even, and of course within my own family, I've tried to be the person that everyone would approve of and to be the good girl. And, you know, then you get to a certain age in your life and you don't really know who you are. So, and you have poor boundaries, because you can't have strong boundaries if you don't know who you are. So then you end up in situations where you're just trying to please other people all the time, and so they can basically do whatever they want and you will accept it, because you haven't got strong boundaries. It's only when you really start knowing yourself and starting to tap into what your values are and what you are willing to put up with and not put up with, and drawing a line in the sand. And when people aren't living up to that, you say, sorry, okay, thanks. You don't even have to say sorry. You just say to yourself, I'm not doing this anymore, and you walk away from them. And that's an act of self-love, and you're not abandoning yourself anymore. And if you're on the narcissistic side, you know, most narcissistic people wouldn't even be tuning into a channel like this. So if you do have, we all tend to sit on the spectrum somewhere, and we have elements of ourselves that are narcissistic, where we want things to be our own way, and we can be a little bit controlling. Or we can be way on the other spectrum where everything is, you know, oh, making the other person happy. So if you're a narcissist and you find yourself here, and you can go, oh yeah, I do try and control people. The fact that you're even getting some awareness around that can start to make you more empathetic towards somebody that's maybe a people pleaser, and that shows amazing personal growth. So, you know, hats off to you. That's awesome. And if you're empathic too, and you're here, anyone that's here tuning into my channel, it's like, wow, give yourself a pat on the back, because you're starting to take a look at what you're doing in your life. And that's personal transformation is 90% about awareness. And when you're aware, you can start to see the patterns in your life, and then you're able to change them. And it's a slow process, but you'll get there. So, yeah, an act of self-love is starting to put boundaries into place, to see the places where you've got people or habits or things in your life that aren't serving you. And it might be family, and you have to actually go, I'm not going to be, you know, I've asked you not to behave like that and you're still doing it, so I'm sorry, I have to step away. And, you know, you have to start asking yourself, what would someone who loves themselves do in every situation? And when you start asking yourself that question, then you can start putting things into place where you're actually putting yourself first and you're not putting other people's needs first. And of course, it's a fine line of going the other way and putting your needs way too much first and not having any empathy for where anybody else is coming from as well. So you have to be aware of that too. Like I say, it's a spectrum between narcissistic behavior and empathic behavior. And, you know, both ends of the spectrum can quite often find themselves together, and that's where you get into a codependent relationship. You know, the empath is trying to make the narcissist happy all the time, please them all the time. The narcissist is controlling because, you know, if they're controlling, then the person won't leave them. They might, you know, like pay all the bills and, I don't know, just can put down really strict rules about how things should operate because they're trying to keep that person really close to them and just like, oh, you won't be able to live without me. And so they're trying to control the situation on that side. The empath is actually being manipulative and controlling in their own way by molding themselves to the other person. And of course, once again, I'm talking about, you know, spectrums. It can be out here, it can be in here. There can be little aspects within your relationship. And, you know, the empathic person that's always trying to please other people is actually being manipulative and controlling in their own way because they're trying to get people to like them, but they're actually not being their authentic self. They're not standing in their own truth. Everybody is not going to like us all the time. That's the truth. And you know what? When you feel really grounded in who you are and you know who you are, you don't even expect people to. And you don't care if people don't always like you. And I used to always be worried about what people thought about me and whether they would like me or not. And oh my God, what would they have thought of me saying that? And worried about it. Oh my gosh, spent hours lying in bed at night worrying about what people think about me. And really at the end of the day, it's none of your business what people think about you. And most people aren't thinking about you at all because they're thinking about their own shit. They're not thinking about you. So yeah, start thinking about what things you're allowing in your life that aren't serving your highest purpose and where your values are in life and what's important to you, and is your life reflecting that to you? And if it's not, then there's room for shifting, room for healing, room for growth, room for transformation. And when you do all that stuff, you're not anxious anymore. You're not worrying about having confidence issues. You're not worrying about people liking you or not liking you. You're standing in your authentic truth, living your life the best way that you can, and you'll start to soar. You'll start to step into things you never even thought that you would be capable of. I never in a million years thought that I would be doing YouTube videos or be doing Facebooks. But I want to help people, and I don't really care if they don't like me. They can turn me off. They can tune me out. That's fine. I'm doing what I'm doing, and you can do what you want to do too. And that's the amazing thing about life, when you start to really stand in your own power. So you're all amazing. You're all beautiful souls, and I look forward to connecting with you again. And remember to like and subscribe to my channel if you want to hear more, and I'll see you next time. Thank you, my loves.